Why did the Seekers rebel?
Why did your order turn against the Chantry?
We originally united with the Chantry through a treaty that stated they would keep mages under control. It was felt Most Holy had tacitly allowed the Circle of Magi to vote on its independence, thus breaking the treaty. The Seekers saw themselves as justified, and they led the Templars into a war of righteousness.
And you disagree?
You sound like you disagree.
We knew what was happening at Kirkwall, where the Mage Rebellion began. We looked into reports of Knight Commander Meredith's harsh treatment of her charges years earlier. But we found so many shocking cases of magical corruption, it was decided her actions were justified. If we'd been there when it happened, if we'd looked harder at the root causes...
I'm just going to agree with her.
You're right. Something should have been done.
When faced with a problem, the Seekers would close ranks and crush it. We would find an answer, but only once we felt we weren't being coerced. The moment the mages voted for independence, our response was predictable. It was difficult to watch.
Enough talk for now.
I've no more questions.
Actually, I do.
Yes?
Let's talk about the Chantry a little bit.
May I ask you about the Chantry?
It is difficult to say what becomes of the Chantry now. They have no Templars, no leadership, and no one left who is worthy of succeeding the Divine. It has fallen apart when everyone needs it the most. I ache to think what this will mean in the days to come.
Do you think that there will be a new Divine?
Will the Chantry replace Divine Justinian?
They will try. Once the priests withdraw for the Grand Consensus, it is against Chantry law for them to emerge without naming a new Divine. Sometimes it takes days, or weeks, or even months. The problem now is that no clear successor to Justinia exists. All worthy clerics died with her at the conflict.
What if they don't agree on anybody?
So what happens if they can't agree on someone?
Theoretically, they will argue until exhaustion takes them or they see reason. Practically, however, if the Grand Consensus goes on too long, the Chantry will crumble. Any cleric with ambition but little sense will see this as her one chance, and plenty of such clerics exist. We shall see what happens. The Inquisition must act in the meantime.
Will you serve a new Divine?
If they do choose a new Divine, will you serve her?
That depends on whether she would have me. I am a rebel now, remember? And even if she would, I do not know. It would depend on what type of Divine she is. I am no longer in a position to follow blindly, and no new Divine could expect such obedience now.
Why did you leave the Chantry?
I'm surprised you rebelled against the Chantry.
I left my own order when they took the wrong path. It is no different. But in neither case did I stop caring. Indeed, I care so much that I feel drastic action is necessary. I suppose history shall one day judge my actions.
Should the Chantry be saved?
Do you really believe the Chantry is worth preserving?
If you ask my opinion, it is. Absolutely. Cast the Chantry aside and new problems replace old ones. We will have learned nothing from history. The people need stability, and the Chantry needs a new purpose. Andraste had a dream for us. It can still be achieved.
What new purpose?
So what should that new purpose be?
A dedication to what is truly important. Instead of building cathedrals and sewing gowns for the Divine, the Chantry used to spend its coin feeding the poor. If we are to spread the Maker's word across the world, we must do so with open hearts and open hands.
You sound a bit like an idealist.
That sounds rather idealistic of you.
Does it? I do not think it's so unachievable. The Chantry has many good, honest people. They just need direction and inspiration. They need to be freed from centuries of adherence to tradition and ceremony. A chance for renewal is at our fingertips. It does not have to come with utter chaos.
Who is Chancellor Roderick?
What influence does Chancellor Roderick really wield?
He's a bureaucrat, responsible for communicating the Divine's will to the rest of the Chantry. Therefore, he's accustomed to the clerics hanging on his every word, hoping his influence will benefit them. Despite that, Roderick is not a bad man. He's frightened, and believes his place is to fill the gap left by Most Holy's death. Some might agree. As far down the chain of command as he is, there is no one left above him.
Will he be a problem?
How big a problem could he be?
No more than he is already. He sent his message to the College of Clerics. That is the only cards he had to play. Dealing with him further only lends him credibility he doesn't deserve.
You make a good point.
Thank you.
Alright, I don't think she has anything else to talk about.
I have some more questions.
Why am I not surprised?
Let's see if she'll talk about him yet.
Tell me about your brother.
I
Nope.
would
Okay.
prefer not to speak of Anthony. Another time, perhaps.
I thought that maybe, you know,
let you get
since
back
we
to work.
talked to her quite a bit more, she might have loosened up a little bit, but I guess not. Okay, let's go find Vivienne and see if she has anything to say. Because, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that if you spend more time adventuring with party members, they'll have more things to talk about with you. But I could be wrong.
I saw the leader of the Bull's chargers, that Iron Bull.
Yeah?
He's something, is he not?
Yeah.
Oh, go on with you. You can't go making cow eyes at one of those oxmen.
No harm in looking, is there? Those shoulders, those horns.
You're
Well-
mad.
Maybe, but I'm not dead.
Alright, she hangs out right here. What's up, Vivienne?
Yes?
Let's see. Let's do a little bit of investigating. Tell me about yourself.
I'd like to know more about you, Madame Vivienne.
Whatever would you like to know?
Well, where are you from?
Your accent's not Orlesian. Where exactly are you from?
I am from the Circle, my dear. One's country of origin rarely matters there. But if you must know, I was born in Wycombe in the Free Marches. I was sent to the Ostwick Circle, but I transferred to Monsieur while still an apprentice.
How did you become a courtier?
I'm curious how a Circle mage winds up a courtier.
Nobody winds up at court, my dear. It takes a great deal of effort to arrive there. I caught the eye of Duke Bastien de Ghislaine, an advantageous connection that opened many doors. When the position of Enchanter to the Imperial Court became vacant, I was able to secure it.
You married a duke?
You're married to the Duke de Ghislaine.
Of course not, my dear. Don't be ridiculous.
Oh, sorry.
Marriage is the business of alliance and inheritance. I'm Bastien's mistress.
Okay, what does his wife think about that?
And what does the Duchess de Ghislaine think of this arrangement?
We got along quite well. Duchess Nicoline and I used to host musical salons together. She was a great patron of the arts.
Is that so?
She passed away from a fever a few years ago, the poor dear.
What is a court enchanter?
What duties does a court enchanter have?
I am tasked with providing assistance to the Empress on arcane matters. Most of my predecessors restricted this to lighting lamps and doing parlor tricks. In such troubled times as these, however, I provide political advice to Her Majesty on the subject of the Mage Rebellion.
Any chance we might?
I think that you and I might, someday.
How very sweet of you to ask, but no.
But no. Does she have anything else to say?
Yes?
Oh, I guess I could continue to ask her that.
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course.
Magi.
What do you wish to know?
Well, wasn't the circle disbanded?
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still belong to it?
The Circle is an idea, my dear. And an idea cannot be dissolved. Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little that anything short of a unanimous decision would pit mage against mage. Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the Circle in two. The rebels follow her, the loyalists follow me.
Shouldn't you replace Fiona?
If you lead all the loyalists, why are you only First Enchanter and not Grand Enchanter?
Grand Enchanters are elected, and since there are no first enchanters besides myself, no vote can be held. I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the circles are restored, that will change.
Well, how did the rebellion start?
How did we come to this state with the circles in revolt?
A failure of perspective that infected Circle leadership. Mages lived solely in a world of Templars and mages. They could not even imagine what was beyond the tower walls. Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. A mage killed hundreds with a snap of their fingers. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic grew. Commoners and nobles alike called out to the Chantry for protection. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. They cared only for themselves and for their anger at the new Templar restrictions. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the mages protested the investigation. The leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed by the Templars, sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks than it had been since Tevinter's day. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
Well, were they justified?
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most opportune time to break away? By all means protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't do it in a way that says mages support wholesale murder. By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the ordinary people of Thedas. A war in which we are outnumbered 100 to 1.
So mages are fighting mages, huh?
I thought the fighting was only between mages and Templars. Why are mages fighting mages?
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin, but Fiona chose to let the motion stand. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against the entire free world had little choice. By breaking from the Chantry when they did, the rebels declared themselves in support of mass murder. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels.
Do you know Fiona?
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter Fiona?
We've met. Before her horrendously ill-timed and selfish vote for independence, I thought her adequate at her job. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the well-being of so many people. We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
Yep, okay, never mind then. I don't know why it ends with never mind. I don't think she has anything else to talk about.
Yes?
Not sure if I want to help the circle. I mean, is there more to learn about the
I
circle?
wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
Oh, I haven't asked these yet. What was circle life like?
What was it like to live in a circle?
My dear, your question is the root of all problems with mages. I cannot tell you. Every circle was different. Their Templars were different, their politics unique. And every person within each tower had an experience of circle life unique to themselves. Some people suffered and some were content. Some were cruel, some compassionate, and some indifferent. The same is true of people everywhere, in all circumstances, whether they are mages or not.
And what about your experience?
Tell me about your personal experience with the Circle.
I enjoyed life in the Montsemard Circle, my dear. It was an edifice devoted to knowledge and refinement. And mages need the company of other mages. No one else can truly understand the challenges we face, nor see the world as we do.
I bet. Was confinement hard?
You must have been under constant supervision, being forced by Templars to live in the tower. Was that hard to endure?
My dear, I have a suite in the palace and a wing at my dear Duke Bastien's estate. I've never been forced to live anywhere. Most circles allowed mages to live away from the tower,
Really?
either on their own or in service to the nobility. All that was required was permission from the first enchanter. Some circles were harsher in their restrictions. Kirkwall was the worst, but it was the exception. Most were quite permissive. Perhaps too permissive, in retrospect.
I did not know that. Tell me about the Templars.
You must have an opinion of the Templars after living so long in the Circle.
Having opinions about Templars, my dear, is exactly like having opinions about mages or Navarans or men. I have known some who are impossible to endure and some who are utterly charming. I have suffered insults at the hands of those in the armor, but no more than I endured from nobles or tradesmen in Val Royal. Personally, I have found the Templars a useful tool, skilled at keeping more unpleasant elements at bay.
All right. Well, that was interesting there, Vivienne. I learned a lot from you. Thank you for sharing. I'm not being sarcastic. I really did learn a lot from her. And now it is time for me to take a break, because I've been playing for quite a while, and unfortunately, I have to get up early in the morning to go to work. But I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider leaving a like or a comment. And thank you to everyone who has left likes and have left comments. I really enjoy reading your comments. Also consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the year. And if you're watching this and haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. Help me get to that goal. That would be awesome. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.